My name is Anasa Troutman, and this is my SheStory. I know it's hard to believe, but when I was a kid, I was literally the shyest person on the planet. Well, okay. Well, at least it felt like it. I mean, I used to do stuff like I would take books and go hide under the kitchen table and read, or I would go out in public with my parents, but I would hide behind them. I mean, it just felt better to have like a barrier between me and the rest of the world. It's actually how I got into music because music was my first refuge. It was my first safe space. I would put on headphones and I knew how to work the record player. So I would put them on and I would listen to Stevie Wonder or Minnie Riperton, and I would just get lost in the music and I would be in the world all by myself. And it just was better that way. It just was better and easier that way. And then music led to books, and books led to movies, and I would get lost in all three of those things. And when I wasn't lost in a book or a movie or some music, I was just lost, period. And I was completely disconnected. It was like I was a turtle who never came out of their shell. It was so bad that I couldn't even tell my parents that I loved them. I remember one day my mom was about to leave the house, and I went and I grabbed her and I was hugging her so tight, hugging her, and I wanted to tell her I loved her, but it just wouldn't come out. And I willed myself everything I had in me. I was, say it. And I just couldn't do it. I tried really hard and I just couldn't do it. It was like I had a band around my mouth, but now looking back, I realized I really had a band around my heart. And it stayed there a really, really long time. It stayed there all the way from being a kid, all the way till I was 29. It dictated everything I did, and most importantly, everything I didn't do. When I was a kid, I had so much in my mind, so much to say, so much I wanted to do, so much, and I was just scared to do it all. I was in an emotional prison for all that time until I grew up. So the morning of my 29th birthday, I woke up and I looked around and I was miserable. I was completely empty, and I had to realize that I was still living life like a scared little girl. And just like when I was a kid, even though I had done so much and I had lived so long, I still had all this stuff that was living in my mind and that was bursting out of my heart that I was too afraid to say and do. And I was tired of it. I was so tired and I just wanted to be free. So I got up and I made a choice that morning that come hell or high water, I was going to figure out how to get free, and I was going to figure out how to create the life that I wanted. So of course, I went to what I know. I went to my books. And the first book I read after that was Deepak Chopra's The Path to Love. And in it, there is a phrase. It's just one little phrase in a giant whole book. And it says, God is self is love. And when I read that line the first time, I stopped because it hit me like a hammer in the chest. It literally stopped me in my tracks, and I read it over and over and over again. It felt like a million times. And I read it until I couldn't read it anymore, and I just closed the book and sat in those words for as long as I could. God is self, is love. It was like a light came on, and I could finally see that there was a path to getting free, because up to that point I wasn't sure. But I knew now that there was actually a path. I mean, I had connected the words God to love and humanity to God, but those were just words to me, something that I would just recite, but nothing I had ever really experienced. But hearing that equation, God equals self equals love, showed me that love is my birthright, and it's actually all our birthright and my path to liberation. So now that I found a path, I decided to pack up all my emotional baggage and get to walking. The path to love has been long, and sometimes it's been quite difficult, but my pursuit of love has taken me on the adventure of a lifetime. Love has been my path to self-liberation, to self-expression, to self-definition, to a robust spiritual life, to meaningful relationships, to transformative work. And everything I have I have because of love. And learning to live with an open heart has been the hardest thing that I've ever had to do, and it continues to be, but it's changed me in ways that are so profound that I never could explain, and I would never ever give up. It's in the way that I show up for my family, for how I show up at work, how I show up for my friends, in my art, in romance, in my spiritual community, how I show up for strangers, how I even show up when people I feel like are working against love. But most of all, it shows up in the way I show up for myself. And that way is embodied love. It's not always unicorns and glitter either. I mean, it is most of the time, but sometimes being love is about being responsible and about being accountable, or speaking truths that are hard to say and even harder to hear. And sometimes it's about figuring out how to balance how I show up for myself when I really want to show up for someone else. I don't always get it right, but I'm more committed to love than I am committed to anything else in my life. And it's not just because it's right, but it's because it works. I mean, love is where I found my freedom. Love is where I found my life. Love is where I found my mission, and love is how I found my people when I'm in a new place. Love is how I found God. Love is honestly how I found myself. Love is the thing that gives me gratitude, and I've never been more grateful than I am in this moment in my life. I've learned how to be love and how to chase love and how to recognize love. And the choice to live love was the best choice that I ever made. And it's the best choice that I make every day because it is a daily practice. It's actually the only choice that matters. My name is Anasa Troutman, and this is my SheStory.